Pastor John was born in the small, impoverished village of Wanjola, a place where hope seemed to flicker like a dying candle. His parents, Miriam and Thomas, were hard-working farmers who toiled from dawn until dusk to provide for their family. Despite their efforts, the family struggled to make ends meet, and young John often went to bed with an empty stomach. From a young age, John was different. He had an insatiable curiosity and a kind heart that endeared him to the villagers. He spent his days helping his parents in the fields and his evenings reading any book he could get his hands on. The local church, a humble structure made of mud and thatch, became his sanctuary. The village pastor, an old man named Reverend Joseph, took John under his wing, teaching him about faith, compassion, and resilience. As John grew older, his desire to help his family and community intensified. He excelled in school, despite the many hardships he faced. His dream was to become a pastor like Reverend Joseph, to guide his people and bring hope to the downtrodden. But dreams, as noble as they might be, do not always put food on the table. One fateful day, a severe drought struck Wanjola, and the already struggling village was pushed to the brink of collapse. Crops withered, livestock perished, and the villagers' spirits were crushed. Thomas fell ill due to the harsh conditions, and Miriam's health deteriorated from the constant worry and lack of nourishment. John was desperate. He prayed fervently for a miracle, but it seemed that God had turned a deaf ear to his pleas. In the neighboring town of Karama, there lived a group of pastors who were renowned for their wealth and influence. Pastor Mike, Pastor Precious, Pastor Jason, and Pastor Tyler were often seen driving luxurious cars and wearing expensive clothes. They preached about prosperity and abundance, and their congregations were large and devoted. John couldn't help but wonder how they had achieved such success. One Sunday, after delivering a heartfelt sermon to his small congregation, Reverend Joseph fell gravely ill. On his deathbed, he called John to his side. "John," he whispered, "you have the heart of a true pastor. You must lead this flock. But be wary of the path you choose. Wealth and power can corrupt even the purest of souls." Reverend Joseph's warning weighed heavily on John's mind as he took over the role of pastor. The church's finances were in shambles, and the villagers needed more help than ever. It was then that John decided to seek out the prosperous pastors in Karama, hoping to learn their secrets and bring prosperity to his village. John made the journey to Karama and attended a service at Pastor Mike's church. The grandeur of the building and the opulence of the congregation left him in awe. After the service, he approached Pastor Mike, who welcomed him warmly. "Pastor Mike," John began hesitantly, "I am Pastor John from Wanjola. Our village is suffering greatly, and I seek your guidance on how to bring prosperity to my people." Pastor Mike's eyes gleamed with a mix of compassion and calculation. "Pastor John, your intentions are noble. But know this, true prosperity requires sacrifice and understanding the hidden ways of the world." Intrigued and desperate, John agreed to meet with Pastor Mike and his associates, Pastors Precious, Jason, and Tyler. They gathered in a luxurious conference room, and the air was thick with an aura of secrecy and power. Pastor Mike began the meeting with a solemn tone. "John, what we are about to share with you is not for the faint of heart. The wealth you see us enjoying is a result of a sacred and ancient pact. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to save your village?" John's heart pounded in his chest. He thought of his parents, the struggling villagers, and the dying church. "Yes," he replied firmly. "I will do whatever it takes." Pastor Precious stepped forward, her eyes piercing into John's soul. "There is a secret society that has existed for centuries, known as the Order of the Enchanted Hand. Members of this society are granted immense wealth and power, but it comes at a cost. You must pledge your loyalty and follow our rituals." Pastor Jason handed John a small, ornate box. Inside this box, he explained, is an ancient artifact, a monkey hand that possesses mystical powers. It is buried beneath the altar of our church. Each member must perform a ritual to awaken its power and receive its blessings. John opened the box and saw a withered monkey hand, its fingers curled into a claw-like position. He felt a shiver run down his spine but pushed his fear aside. "What must I do?" he asked. Pastor Tyler smiled. "You must bring the hand to your church and perform a midnight ritual. Follow the instructions precisely, and you will be granted the wealth you seek. But remember, this power must be used wisely and for the good of your people." With the box in hand, John returned to Wanjola. He waited for the cover of night, and with a mixture of trepidation and hope, he performed the ritual as instructed. He buried the monkey hand beneath the altar of his church and recited the incantations given to him by the pastors. The following morning, John awoke to find a small pile of gold coins beneath his bed. His heart leaped with joy, and he immediately used the wealth to buy food and supplies for the village. Word spread quickly, and soon the villagers were singing his praises. The church began to flourish, and John was able to provide for his parents and the entire community. As the weeks went by, the gold continued to appear, and John used it to rebuild the village, establish schools, and improve healthcare. Wanjola transformed from a place of despair to a thriving community. John became a beloved figure, known for his generosity and compassion. But with wealth came new challenges. The villagers, once humble and grateful, began to grow greedy and demanding. Some accused John of using dark magic, and whispers of his pact with the secret society began to circulate. John dismissed these rumors, focusing on his mission to uplift his people. One evening, as John was preparing for a sermon, he received a visit from Pastors Mike, Precious, Jason, and Tyler. They congratulated him on his success but warned him of the dangers ahead. "John," Pastor Mike said gravely, "you have done well, but remember, the power of the monkey hand is not to be taken lightly. It must be used for the greater good, or it will bring ruin upon you." John nodded, vowing to remain true to his principles. But as the years passed, the weight of his secret began to take its toll. He found himself torn between his desire to help his people and the ever-present temptation of wealth and power. Despite his best efforts, John's relationship with the villagers grew strained. They began to demand more and more, their greed fueled by the seemingly endless supply of gold. John struggled to keep up with their demands while maintaining his own integrity. One day, a young woman named Grace approached John. She was one of the few who had remained humble and grateful throughout the years. "Pastor John," she said softly, "I fear that the wealth has changed our village. People are no longer kind and compassionate. They are consumed by greed." John listened, his heart heavy with guilt. He knew that Grace spoke the truth, but he felt powerless to stop the tide of corruption that had swept over Wanjola. Desperate for guidance, he sought out the counsel of the secret society once more. The pastors met in the same luxurious conference room, their expressions somber. "John," Pastor Precious said gently, "you have done much good, but the power of the monkey hand is not limitless. It has the potential to corrupt even the purest of hearts." Pastor Jason added, "The villagers' greed is a reflection of the imbalance created by the hand. You must find a way to restore harmony and remind them of the values that truly matter." John returned to Wanjola with a renewed sense of purpose. He began to preach about the dangers of greed and the importance of compassion and community. He used the remaining wealth to establish programs that promoted education, health, and unity. Slowly, the villagers began to change. They rediscovered the joy of helping one another and the true meaning of prosperity. But the monkey hand's power had not gone unnoticed. A group of men from a nearby town, led by a ruthless businessman named Victor, learned of the enchanted artifact and sought to claim it for themselves. They arrived in Wanjola, demanding that John hand over the monkey hand. John stood firm, refusing to surrender the artifact that had brought both blessing and curse to his village. "This hand is not just a source of wealth," he declared. "It is a symbol of our journey and the lessons we have learned. I will not let it fall into the wrong hands." Victor and his men were not easily deterred. They threatened to destroy the village if John did not comply. Fearing for the safety of his people, John made a difficult decision. He agreed to meet Victor under the cover of night to negotiate a truce. In the dead of night, John met Victor in the church. The atmosphere was tense, and the air was thick with anticipation. John clutched the ornate box containing the monkey hand, his mind racing with thoughts of how to protect his village. Victor sneered as he approached John. "You have had your time with the hand. Now it belongs to me. Hand it over, and no harm will come to your precious village." John stood his ground, his voice steady. "This hand has brought us both fortune and sorrow. It is not to be used for personal gain, but for the greater good. I will not let you corrupt its power." Victor's patience wore thin, and he lunged at John, attempting to snatch the box from his grasp. A struggle ensued, and in the chaos, the box was knocked to the ground. The monkey hand tumbled out, landing between them. As Victor reached for the hand, a blinding light filled the church. The hand began to glow, and a voice echoed through the sanctuary. "This power is not for those who seek only wealth and power. It is a gift to be used with wisdom and compassion." Victor recoiled, his eyes wide with fear. He stumbled backward, the light growing brighter and more intense. The hand rose into the air, and the church shook with a powerful force. John watched in awe as the hand disintegrated into a shower of golden dust, the light fading into darkness. When the light subsided, Victor and his men had vanished, leaving John alone in the church. He fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. The weight of his journey and the burden of the secret society lifted from his shoulders. The following morning, the villagers awoke to find the church intact and John standing before them. He told them of the night's events, of the final confrontation and the disappearance of the monkey hand. He spoke of the lessons they had learned and the true meaning of prosperity. The villagers listened, their hearts filled with a renewed sense of purpose. They realized that true wealth was not measured in gold or possessions, but in the strength of their community and the kindness they showed one another. Under John's guidance, Wanjola continued to thrive. The villagers worked together to build a better future, one based on compassion, integrity, and unity. John remained their beloved pastor, his faith and wisdom guiding them through both good times and bad. As the years passed, the story of the enchanted monkey hand became a legend, a tale of caution and inspiration. It reminded the people of Wanjola that true prosperity came from within and that the power of faith and community could overcome even the greatest challenges. Pastor John lived out his days in peace, knowing that he had fulfilled his mission and brought lasting change to his village. He never forgot the lessons he had learned or the sacrifices he had made, and his legacy continued to inspire generations to come. The enchanted monkey hand beneath the church became a symbol of hope and resilience, a reminder that true wealth lies not in the material, but in the spirit and heart of a united community.